Hi everyone, Adrian Groenewald here. Welcome to Global Leadership Platform. And of course, it's our Global Leadership Conversation 1 project, campaign, whatever you want to call it. We have a global leadership crisis. We're speaking to influencers all over the world, asking them two simple questions. And it has been a privilege to talk to people on all the continents almost of our planet. And we will continue doing so, leading to Leadership Conversation 2, 3, 4. With me today, Professor Shirley Zinn, former HR executive for large brands, really large banks and retail companies, but also an author. You know, she wrote a book, Swimming Upstream, and she sits on several boards and certainly very prominent in South Africa and beyond. Professor Shirley Zinn, thank you for joining us all the way from Cape Town. In a while, we'll ask you to tell us something nice and interesting about Cape Town, but thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Arden, for having me here and for initiating this very important conversation.
Yes, and it's a conversation about the global leadership crisis we find ourselves in. We're trying to unearth the number one attribute or quality needed if we're going to turn around this global crisis. And of course, there are many qualities, many attributes needed. But we want to know from you, and this is the standard question, what is the most important quality or attribute we need to develop or awaken or improve in leaders if we are going to conquer this global leadership crisis? What do you put at the top of the list, Shirley?
Adrian, we do have a leadership crisis. There's no two ways about that. And for me, crisis is essentially a human issue. It affects people, whether it be a corporate crisis or whether it be a national crisis or whether it be a global crisis. A crisis affects people. And for me, we have to put people at the center of how we actually begin to address this as leadership. So we have to create a sense of humanization in our organizations, a sense of importance around the human beings and the lives that we impact, the communities we impact, the society we impact. And we've got to understand that every decision we take as leadership is going to have a ripple effect on millions, if not billions, of people's lives. And so for me, putting the human being at the center of our leadership challenge is very, very important. And yes, we can talk about, we have a geo-economic crisis, we have a lot of confusion and disorder and turbulence, volatility in our global and local environment. We have a fraught strategic and governance environment at the moment, especially in South Africa. We have a lot of conflict and confrontation and fractious relationships. And the center of that, the intersection of all of that is around people and behavior and values, and whether we can find a way to shift that into being more purposeful, into being more transformational, into being more ethical, and what those attributes are that are going to re-engage and energize people to build that confidence and trust in credible leadership once again.
Okay. So now the very big, I can see why. My next question is why. Why do you put that at the top of the list? But you've explained that very well, Shirley. I'm interested, you've been at the top of the HR game for many, many years, and a lot of leadership training interventions have happened underneath you. Of course, you had senior managers taking care of it, human capital individuals and blah, blah, blah. But the big question is, it's fine for us to say, okay, you think the number one quality is to bring back that humanness, or for people, a leader must put humans at the center of their leadership. Okay, so let's say that's the number one quality. How do we develop leaders in all these programs? What is the essence way that we will develop them to adopt this quality, to bring this quality or this skill out of them, that people come first?
I think, Adrian, that, if you put leadership development into Google, there will be a few million programs that you can choose to go on. Yeah. And it will range from incredibly expensive to very simple, and often the simpler things are the more powerful things. I think one of the most important things that we actually need to do is deep introspection. I think it all starts with ourselves, deep within ourselves. I think we need to discover our purpose and discover our own true north. So, you can call that personal mastery. There are lots of organizations and offerings around personal mastery and mentorship and all of that. But I think, our willingness to introspect, to reflect, and to dig very, very deep is going to enable us to find the courage to move forward in a very, very different way. We can sit on these programs and we can learn many things, many theories, many paradigms, all sorts of things. And I'm not here to say that you must not go on a leadership development program, but what I am saying is that we need to determine the essence of self-awareness. And we need to say, how do I dig deep enough in order to, shift myself and then be able to shift the collective in a direction that is meaningful and purposeful, that will make a lasting difference in the lives of people. And I think it was Jeff Immelt from GE long ago that said, leadership is a long journey into your own soul. And that's how deep it needs to go. It really needs to cut deep, Adrian, because if it's going to be one of these things that puts a plaster on it or papers it over, and it doesn't start to rigorously examine the root causes of the behavior that we see in the world today, we are not going to shift in a way that is going to be sufficiently radical to take ourselves forward. We're still living in a world where rank and privilege and money and titles and power is what people think leadership is all about. And I think that, in this new world that we are trying to forge in a fourth industrial revolution environment, in the 21st century, we have so many challenges. And I think if we can get to the essence of dealing with the distrust, the doubt, the dissent, but dealing with that in the most uncomfortable possible way by holding up the mirror to ourselves and saying to ourselves, what can I do differently? How can I personally be a better leader? What are the things that the habits that I need to unlearn? What are the new things I need to learn? And how do I reposition myself for a different narrative to be forged around what leadership means in the world today?
So first thing I think is one could probably never do enough of that. And the next thing is all these programs that very often these days start with that, don't they? The really quality programs start with a module on self-awareness or self-introspection or mindfulness or whatever it is. But then we move on to the so-called more important things. And maybe what I hear you say is, hold on, it's fine. You've got to move on to other modules as well, or, the rest of your journey. But we've got to put more emphasis on introspection, on holding that mirror up, on discovering who I am, digging into my soul, me really changing. And then when I can really change, then my shadow casts wide and I can help others maybe go on that same introspection journey. Okay, that's very powerful. Any final comments on this topic before I ask you something more lighthearted as we end the conversation? I'm so glad your voice is out there, Shirley.
Thank you so much, Adrian. I think, we came out of an age, and maybe there was a time and a place for this, where we used to talk about leadership competencies, but today we really need to change the conversation that isn't only about competencies, but it's really about growing character. What does it actually mean to have a character that is astute, that is professional, that is values-driven, that is purpose-driven, that is resilient through tough times, that is accountable, willing to learn from failure and move on. And, one of the articles that have emerged recently, I can't remember exactly who might have said this, but it says, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. So it is very important that we don't take a thing like leadership for granted, that we think we can just somehow do this and be competent if we've come through some kind of a program that says you are hereby certified to be competent. It is really about a continuous learning process of refreshing one's commitment to being the very best possible leader that this world needs right now.
Absolutely. Shirley, Professor Shirley Zinn, thank you so much, all the way from South Africa, but Cape Town more particularly. Before we let you go, tell people what's interesting about Cape Town, or why should they visit that place. I feel silly asking it because it's one of the top cities in the world. But you tell us, what's the X factor of Cape Town?
I think the X factor about Cape Town is it's a difficult thing to put your finger on, but it's a combination of the beauty of the people, the beach and the mountains, the wine, the diverse culture, the biodiversity, the sporting events, the abundance of wildlife and adventure, the food, and the list is just ongoing. And I've chatted to a lot of people, who come and visit our guest house here in Fishhook, our little village out here as well, and they are constantly, reverberating this message about just how much beauty we have in literally everything we can see. And if only we can just appreciate that a little bit more, I think we will find a way to want to leave a legacy that says, let's find the beauty in all of these wonderful things that we have available to us, this amazing abundance that will give us so much joy and more peace and hopefully more harmony in our souls and the way we choose to live our lives.
Professor Shirley Zinn, all the way here from Kruger National Park, which is another beauty in our world, to Cape Town, which is another treasure. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Bye-bye.